All right, glad you're back with us. This is Zach Rosette with Buildbox, and I want to welcome you to part 9 of the Make Your Own Game series. In part 8, we learned about creating a coin shop and putting a way for players to spend in-game currency on different characters. And in part 9, we are going to learn about exporting our game to both iOS and Android. Buildbox can export to multiple platforms, but before we can export, we need to add a few things in the project settings. Way back in part 1, I mentioned briefly about the settings button in the upper right. We are going to click on that button and we see 3 tabs in this window. General, where we would add our final specifics like an icon and our bundle ID for the App Store. We also see a Controllers tab and the Advertisement tab. The Advertisement tab is where you would add your different keys from any ad networks you set accounts up with. Here's where you would select your target export option and paste your keys into the appropriate slots and set the priorities for how you want those ads served to your users, which we will cover in another series. The Controllers tab allows you to specify controller commands, pretty straightforward. And the General tab has the finishing touches we need to pack this thing up. This image square here is for your game's icon. You can name your game here, and you will see some options the creator cooked up for us way back in part 1. There is also a place to revise your game version if need be. Below that, there is the necessary information needed by different platforms to get your game up and running in their marketplace, including the game name that appears under your icon. These options change as you select your different export targets. For this tutorial, let's set up an iOS export by naming the game and putting in our bundle ID. Getting a bundle ID takes an Apple developer account and some setup that we will be covering in another series. Once we have the necessary information put in, we hit OK and go up to File and choose our export target. Let's choose iOS. Buildbox will then export all the necessary files into a folder for us, all ready to go for compiling an Xcode that we will be covering in another series. If we want to export an Android version, we will need to bring up the settings window again and select the Google Play Store as our target. Add in the necessary information, then go up to File and select Export, and then choose Android. And Buildbox will prepare a folder with all the necessary files in it for compiling in the appropriate development tool, but we will cover that in another series. There are more platforms we could export to, and there's much more for you to discover in Buildbox. I'll give you a peek at some of those things in the next video where I'll cover a few tips, tricks, and hacks, so come back for that one and I will see you in part 10.